Hey, Joe Mama. So I realized as I was starting this that I did not shut down anything on my computer. So how's the visual? How's the video? Is it jumpy? Oh, hey. Okay, so I was trying to shut down some screens, some windows and stuff in order to um, help. But if it's not messing it up, then great. And I don't plan on doing any sort of switching screens or anything like that that I know of. Um, so we should be good. How are you guys doing? My setup is a little bit different. Um, I changed this room around. My parents are going to be staying with me for about 3 weeks. So um, I'm not sure what that means live streaming wise, but they are moving out of the state. And hello, Johnny O, and Joe Mama, and Headless. I'm sorry. I saw you all and I thought hello, but um, but I didn't say it. So I don't know. So anyway, yes, I changed some things around. Um, I also have not gone live um, lately because life has been ridiculous, both work and personal stuff. So, but we are at the end of our semester, school semester, and that doesn't mean we won't be doing some schoolwork, but it just means things are a little less intense. Well, they currently live not too far from me, less than an hour from me. Um, and um, but they are moving down to Texas. And so just one of those things where they had just in the selling of their house and all that, some things got changed around, some plans got changed on them. And so, that meant that they were going to stay with us for a few days, um, like 3 days. And then um, because the change of plans, it'll be about 3 weeks. And they will be here for Christmas, which is good because uh, the decision to move happened very quickly. Um, and they, and so I didn't think that, we'd get Christmas with them. So we get one more Christmas with them, and they'll actually be here in the house, waking up with us and all that. Hey, Harley's Jigar. I have to say your full name. I don't know why, but um, so that'll be good. My kids have wanted them to stay the night and wake up with us on Christmas morning for years. And now that all my kids are older, um, they're going to. So I know they'll come back to visit, but we just won't, have them all the time. Or not that we have them all the time, but you know what I mean. we won't have them whenever we want them. Um, so it's 3 weeks, but we're really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to making the most of that time and just really enjoying the fact that we have them before they're across country, southwise. So, um, all right. So, yes, I appreciate that. It's awesome seeing you here because I always see you in chats. Um, okay, so just heads up, we are going to be talking about homeschooling. Um, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, but I really am going to open it up for questions. If you guys have any questions that you ever wanted to know, even if you thought, you didn't want to ask them because they might offend somebody or whatever. Now, maybe it's not of interest and you don't have any questions and you're not curious at all, and that's totally fine too. But if you think of any, we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. Um, and honestly, I'm not overly, I don't know, I don't have some overly prepared show. Just because, yes, I was there. Um, just because I have been so busy, but I am ready to. I just wanted to say hi. I just wanted to kind of be back and be able to, I guess, chat with you guys this way. So it's really up for grabs. Uh, okay, so first things first. Did anybody actually watch the hearings on Tuesday besides Bill and I? Bill and me, I guess, besides Bill and me. I know a lot of people are feeling like they don't care, they know it's ridiculous. Well, hello, the Bill Show. I was just asking if anybody had watched the hearings except for you and me. Yes. My daughter and I were doing Latin, and I was doing Latin like this. Oh, I took out the one with my mic. Anyway, with one earbud in and one earbud out. So the earbud out was by her and doing the Latin with her and stuff. Um, because I wanted to. I get when people say that they don't want to watch it, it's ridiculous, whatever else. Um, and I appreciate that, get that. I guess my thing is, though, I do want to watch every bit of it because I I want to be able to hear everything for myself. I don't want to get anything through anyone else's interpretation of what happened. And so anyway, yeah, I just want firsthand information. Democrats are idiots and threw the election for 2020 because of this impeachment stuff. They're really, yeah, I have always kind of felt like, one, I don't think that they really are. I mean, I don't think that they really think it's going to work, but I think that they're somewhat delusional, especially in how much power they have, because they have had a lot of power. I think Trump has changed the game on the amount of power that they have. And so that might be taking them a little by surprise as far as how little um, what they're doing is having an impact, at least the impact that they want it to have. Um, um, so I think there might be a little piece of them that hopes, hey, yeah, maybe this will work. But I think the bigger part of them is really just using this as, I don't know, kind of their version of campaign interference. This is them campaigning. They are trying to make Trump look as bad as possible. Yes, hey Sam. Um, I was just saying that life has been so completely ridiculous. So I don't. I just kind of chatting tonight. I have a couple of topics, but really just kind of chatting tonight because I just wanted to get back on and uh, had my last day of class today, and so things are. I just have a minute to breathe. Tomorrow I've got a busy day, but I have a minute to breathe tonight. Um, so anyway, that's what I think the impeachment inquiry hearings are all about, and the impeachment is just really an effort to hurt Trump's campaign, which I agree with you. Who said that, Johnny? Right? That's I got that right, right? Um, or no, maybe it was Harley. Okay, Johnny. Um, I agree with you that um, it has it's backfired. It's backfiring. I think it that it's. I think they were in too deep, um, and they have. I think they kind of know that they're hardcore. Well, actually, a couple things. I think one, they know that they're hardcore people um, will eat them alive if they were to have backed out. But I also think there is that aspect that, considering this round is about Ukraine, um, you know, you've got Biden, you've got Pelosi, you've got Kerry, you've got who's the rhinos? The rhino. What's his name? Hmm. Bill, I know you're going to come up with this real quick. Anyway, you've got all of their kids um, who have connections with this whole Ukraine thing, and so um, um, hardly. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to read back, but so I think part of it is self-preservation as well. Um, they're they don't want the attention to be on Biden and Ukraine, because if the attention is on Biden and Ukraine, it will also be eventually on them and Ukraine. So, um, so yeah, I think that is also part of it as well. Okay, I'm going to come back here and read because you guys are putting in all sorts of good stuff. Yeah, Bill. Bill said, "I watched to know the enemy inside and out." Absolutely. Joe Mueller, seeing get shocked seeing the comments on Twitter, the people that just do not see what the Democrats are actually doing. Yeah, um, I'm on Twitter a lot when it comes to this stuff, and I guess the only thing that I can attribute that to is that they aren't watching the the actual hearings, which again, that's why I like to watch them, because you have the people making these comments and you can tell that they're making the comments based on those on the talking points, based on the 30-second clips that are shown on mainstream media, based on what other people are telling them is happening. I mean, hey, you've got Schiff out there lying through his teeth, right? But he's all over the news and whatever else, and so, um, that's what I hear from them. It's just hearing what the talking points are. So that's where I challenge them first is, did you actually watch the hearings? Um, Someone made a comment today on Twitter, um, that Barron is a Baron and not a Baron, using the two R's versus the one R. Um, and he was responding to Melania. And then he got extremely rude and disrespectful and calling her all sorts of horrible names. And right there, it's like, no, did you not see what the professor actually said, Professor Carlin? Did you not see what she actually said? Because she actually was taking a jab at him, at Trump, using his son Barron. She actually did reference his minor child Barron. It wasn't just talking about, barons. Um, and so but that's not what they're seeing. Um, and Professor Carlin even came out and apologized for that, saying that she was wrong for doing so. Um, so yeah, it's that's why I like to do it. Um, Harley, does that mean you're drinking? Is that what that means? I don't mean to be. Benny, hey. Okay, I'm obviously behind on chat. Um, yeah, you're right, Johnny. Johnny's saying that people are going to be in for a real wake up call because that's true. If you have been watching mainstream media, if you have been watching just little clips, if you're not getting the information yourself, or researching the information yourself, or getting it from multiple sources, then um, then you absolutely believe that everybody thinks like you do, and except for those horrible racist um, MAGA people that we are. Um, and then you can just discount them because they're horrible racist feminists. What other is I'm missing? Um, we want to stick people in cages, children specifically, which is actually really interesting considering some of the information that's been coming out. So anyway, um, they are going to be in for a wake up call. And considering how they responded to the first time that Trump was elected, oh, they're going to lose their ever loving minds. There was a video, a little clip on Twitter the other day where this guy, and it said it was the head of Antifa. I assume that was a joke, but I could be wrong. But he was sitting there with this little hat on and doing this whole what do you do? We say Trump, no, no, no. We say Trump, no, no, no. I'm like literally like a 3-year-old toddler. And this is the problem. This is the problem. It's all emotional. There is no logic. There is no reasonable thinking. There is no thinking. Yeah, it's just based on feelings and emotions, and I'm going to react this way. And when that's the case, you end up looking like a toddler because we are supposed to mature beyond that. We're supposed to mature beyond the point of just feeling and reacting to our feelings. Um, we're supposed to gain self control. We're supposed to gain the ability to ponder and not react and consider um, facts which I know is hard, right, in today's society, and I've been talking about this. That's the problem, is that we've built a society where there isn't a right and wrong. There aren't facts. Facts are fluid, like gender, right? And you can't tell anybody that they're wrong. You can't tell anyone that a choice they're making or a thing that they're doing is wrong, um, because you can't offend people. And so, again, we've built this society, and it truly has built a culture of people who lack the ability to think and to use logic. Okay, sorry. Let me catch back up on the chat. Yeah, see, Johnny, I literally got that much on one of your comments, and then I didn't even make it to the shock will hit them hard. Yes, it will. I agree with that one. Um, yes, Benny. That's the thing is, man, they're just not doing themselves any favors. Yes, when Obama was reelected. But I can't imagine that you threw yourself on the ground or that you went on and, cried on YouTube or that you, um, you know, toddler fitted your way through it. Mm, I just don't imagine that. Yeah, you can feel the panic in real time. It's true. I mean, they're grasping, I don't know if they think that they have something in their back pocket or up their sleeve or whatever. Um, and I think that they probably do have some of that. But I also think that there's that the plan and that the people who have been um, working on this are prepared for that. So, yes, Bill, we still love you, even though you were part of the problem. Sorry, I have to poke. You voted for Obama twice. I have to poke. Oops. Uh-oh. Sorry, I jumped way ahead. Oh. I was talking to, so Johnny said people are stupid for believing the media, really dumb individuals. So I'm in kind of this conversation with someone, actually a couple of someone's on Twitter. Um, and the one guy was making a comment about, whatever he was making a comment about. And I had made a comment about, oh, he was really snotty about something. And so I try to be respectful um, all the time. I try to treat people with respect, um, whether they, deserve it or not, whatever. I've always felt like how I treat people speaks more about me than it does about them. Okay. So for me, it's about who I am, not about who they are. Um, but I did just kind of flip and just use the same words he had used. Um, so I don't remember what it was, Anyway, I used the same words he used and said something about him, just believing mainstream media or listening to mainstream media and choosing to believe that or whatever. And he came back and said, well, all I watch is Fox News, if that's now considered MSM. And there's another guy in the conversation with us, and he got to it before I did, and he's like, absolutely, And um, so one of the points that we made was this idea of um, you know, checking, not believing things, all that. And he said, "Well, does that include Trump?" Um, and the other guy and I agreed, yes. Trump is not perfect. He's not a perfect man. He is doing great things. Don't get me wrong, but nobody is perfect, and um, and he messes up. He does things that are ugly, um, and even if I can't say, okay, right here he was wrong, or right here, uh, there was that little bit of the gun thing a little while ago. But anyway, my point is that just because Trump says something doesn't mean that I should believe that either. It really is important that we research what we're hearing. Doesn't matter the source, that we research it, and we don't just, which is why I try when I have a show that's actually planned. It's why I try to have backup for what I'm saying, and I actually will show you, here's what where I'm getting my information. Um, Unless I totally forget, I'll put it in the description box, because I don't, and um, even when I get information from someone, I usually try to, check it to make sure I'm not just getting it from that article. Are there others saying this? So nobody is above the law, to use the words that people are loving right now. Nobody's above being fact checked, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Um, our president, no matter who he is or she is, okay, I'm not saying it can't be a woman. I'm just saying, no matter who he is, um, he works for us. And I think that that is what, and this is what I said in one of my tweets. I think that that is what is throwing people. Is that this is actually the first president in a very long time who knows he works for us. He knows he works for the people, and he is putting his country and his citizens first. And that has not happened for a very, very long time. Um, and I think that that is so outside the box for people that um, that they don't know what to do with that. Um, so anyway, let me try to catch up some more. I'm not sure what was really low, Joe. Maybe the fact that I poked it for his voting for Obama, or maybe the fact that he voted for Obama twice. Romney, Johnny, that's the name I was thinking of earlier, but I know. Um, oh, you said you were getting trashed, waiting to be taken out to the curb. I think I might have messed that up. Sorry. Um, they love to hear themselves talk, the professors. Oh my gosh. um, oh, Bill. Okay, so the first guy, I don't remember his name right now, but he was the one, and I'm not trying to be mean by saying this, okay? I'm not, this isn't an insult, but he was the one who literally looked like the 10-year-old boy who was dressed up in, um, daddy's suit, if you remember that one. Um, and again, I don't, I mean, I'm not trying to pick on his looks because I don't really do that. Um, I'm just saying he kind of looked like that, Um, anyway, so he starts talking, and he is so very full of himself. You can just tell he is, whew, very proud. And I mean, condescending, just like dripping off of his tongue, the condescension, right? Um, it was impressive. It was amazing. Sorry. Okay, still drinking water, but in the Christmas glasses now, because the month of December, well, right after Thanksgiving, we switched out all of the dishes and we only use Christmas china. Well, that's not true. If we have to heat something up in the microwave, we have to use another one because these will create little fires and sparks. But but other than that, yes, we use our Christmas dishes. Um, yeah, so he was the first professor to speak. That was entertaining and impressive. Um, then you had the woman, Carlin, Professor Carlin, and she was impressive in a completely different way. She came out so aggressive and so loud and so, I mean, she was talking fast, she was aggressive, she was louder, she was okay, a little shrill. I'm not trying to pick on her voice. Maybe that's, her normal voice and that's what God gave her. And okay. But um, along with everything else, it was like, whoa, all right. She is, excited to be here. And she's pretty serious about herself. But boy, she was like, and just like, oh my goodness. Um, she was, uh, yeah. And she came out like immediately uh, on the would it be on the defensive because of something that I think it was Jim Jordan had said, and she had taken offense to it. Of course, she'd taken offense to it because that's what leftists do. They take offense. So, absolutely, lady, take offense to it, um, and and then show yourself to be really. You know what? You know what she showed herself to be? She showed herself to be an emotional woman. So logic, reason, um, ability to think just kind of went out the window. Now, I'm not saying all women are like that, but she fed right into the stereotype. So she's this professor, she's, um, uh, has all these accolades, she's well respected, um, well accomplished. And then she comes out and she completely shoots herself in the foot and she completely puts herself in the stereotypical, um, hyper emotional female stereotype. Nobody else did that to her. You can't call feminism on that. She did that to herself. So thank you. Good job. Um, and then, yeah, everything she said from that point on, it was just dripping with anger and jabs and nastiness and whatever else. And that's, of course, that was a whole barren comment. Um, and then the third one was, nah, I mean, just a regular dude, in my opinion. Uh, but it was very interesting because they had all sorts of things to say that really had nothing to do with what they should have been saying. So at one point, Professor Carlin was making a comment about, they asked her a question and she said, well, I am not an expert in that. Impeach no. Oh heavens. Obstruction of justice with the Senate, I believe. She said, you'd have to talk to one of my colleagues. I am not an expert there, but as a citizen, blah, 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 right? So I'm not an expert here. You've called me as an expert witness. I'm telling you right now, I'm not an expert in regard to this question you're asking me, but let me put my 2 cents in anyway. And as a citizen, here it is. So what does the representative do? Oh, we'll take your opinion as a citizen because it's what we want to hear. Check, check. Again, this is just this it's just ridiculous. It's let's see what we can do to pick and choose what we want to make it fit what we want. And to ignore the things that we've said we're going to do. We brought you here as experts. Oh, you're not an expert in this? Well, you're a citizen. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm a citizen. I have all sorts of opinions. When is my invite to appear? I can give my opinions as a citizen. Okay, so I know I've talked for a long time. I'm so sorry. I'm going to check the chat again, and then I'll talk about the fourth guy. Benny, did I see or did I hear about the Black Hawk helicopter? I did, although I only saw mention of it. I didn't hear details, so I don't know if we lost, like, if people died, if they were in many, or anything like that. I want to say, was that in Michigan? But maybe I'm just thinking that because we have a lot of Michigan here. I think it's great that they're going to lose their minds. They're idiots. Whoa, sorry, I just jumped really far. So sorry. Oh, Brian's here. And so is Robert Wallace. Okay, hold on. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I got really far behind. Oh, so he really was Antifa, Bill? I wasn't sure if that was just kind of a poke or if that was real. So Headless says his problem is he doesn't trust any politician. I'm with you. I do have a few that I'm liking right now. But I've learned enough in the last year or so to realize that a lot of the people that I thought I liked in the past were scumsuckers. So, and I'm not doing that in a name calling way. I'm doing that as an actual definition. They were not good people. They awoke a sleeping truth giant in me. Yeah. Antifa should all be lined up in chain gang form and skull dragged by a semi-truck. I'm not actually sure what skull dragging is, but they are, they're a gang. Yeah, and yeah, their actions are extremely despicable, and they should be seen first as homegrown terrorists. They should be seen as their actions should be treated um, with action. And what I mean by that is I live not far, I mean, within a couple of hours of Portland area. And man, they've beaten up Portland so many times. Um, you know, not only the citizens, but the business owners. Um, what, you know, where are their rights? So it's okay for Antifa to go and trash stuff or to not allow people to walk freely or, go about their business. What about the business owners? What about them? What about their right to, have their door open and not have their business impeded, um, because someone else is causing all this ruckus, or to have their business trashed because there's all this ruckus or whatever? Um, what about someone's ability to walk down the street without, I don't know, getting clobbered over the head? Um, where are those rights? And really, again, because it's close enough to me, I hear enough about it. The Portland Police Department. I don't blame the police officers themselves. I understand that they are under um, certain orders, but um, certainly those who are in leadership making the decisions to not act, um, I think it's a dereliction of duty. I think that they are, to serve and protect. And are you serving? Are you protecting? No, you're not. So either do your job or take that tagline off and say, just so you know, we're not here to serve and protect you. Therefore, if you want to be protected, figure it out yourself. Good luck with that, because a lot of people would like to protect themselves. Okay. Um, having an obnoxious moment. You can't fix stupid and you cannot argue with willful ignorance. Yeah, Bill, I know. And you've talked about this before, and I totally get it. I think there's a little bit of me that always has the hope that I can try, that I can make a difference, that I can get through, that I can say that thing that maybe will make a light bulb gone. Um, I understand that in some or even a lot of cases, that's not necessarily going to happen. But if there's that one person, so yes, Sam, Mitch Romney was the rhino I was thinking of. Yes. Um, checks and balances. Okay, so Joe, I'm not actually sure what you were responding to, but the whole checks and balances um, conversation, or the separation of powers, or the duty that the Congress has to make sure that the president is doing the right thing. You've heard so much about that lately. It's so funny because it's ignoring the fact that the president, not even the president, but the executive branch does have certain authorities. The executive branch has certain authorities to act, um, to make some policy decisions, to choose a direction for what we do in certain areas. And I heard someone say, the thing with the three branches um, is not that the people tend to get mixed up, and they tend to think, well, shared power means then we should be all up in this person's business. No, it means that shared power, meaning the power of the government as a whole, is shared. You get your part, you get your part, you get your part. Okay. Um, I mean, I was going to try to use some sort of dumb analogy, but um, I'm all out of dumb analogies. I'm going to take this off for a minute. So that's the thing. You hear a lot from these leftist representatives saying, "Oh, we are doing our duty to the American public by doing these things," but it's just not true. They are overstepping in so many ways, which brings me to um, the fourth constitutional expert that they had come before Congress, um, or at the hearing. Okay, hang on. I I'm sorry. I will try to get caught up real quick and then keep talking. Usually get your news from American Patriots. Yes, and even then, Bill was. I was on Bill's show once, and he had asked me this question about about whether or who I listen to. How do I choose who I listen to? And going back to that, it really is, who is it that's going to back up what they have to say. Um, so don't tell me, don't present an argument to me and have a foundation that is shaky. Build your foundation for me. Where are you getting this information? How do you know this? Don't just tell me and expect me to believe you. So I might be fired up by what you say, but I'm going to go, before I act on that, I want to see where that's coming from. Because too many times, even on our side of things, I had a video a while back where somebody had posted a tweet with from the Democratic debate. What was it? Some sort of satanic symbol on the ceiling, right? And they're like, "Oh my goodness, why would you expect to have flags on the stage when they have this, you know, their symbol is this satanic symbol, right?" And it was a doctored thing, but it wasn't totally obvious that it was a joke, or doctored or whatever. And so what you had a lot of people, even on our side, who were responding, going, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they had that," and, da, 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 and all this stuff, making us look like idiots. Um, so, and my first thought was, "Oh, right," but then I thought, "Wait a minute, that's a little weird, right?" So I had the opportunity to get fired up about it, but then I went and I did some research. I'm like, "Yeah, here's what it was. Here's the doctored photo," right? Another one of, is it Vanderbilt's house, where she's in this room in front of a fireplace, and there's a picture or a painting on the wall behind her, and somebody had doctored it to be some sort of horrible thing. Look, these people are horrible enough. Okay, let's go after them for what they are truly horrible about. Okay, um, so I don't care who's saying it. I want to make sure that I'm checking my information. Not to say I never react or whatever, but I want to check. I want to try to. Uh, Brian, yes, I am 21 minutes behind, but I'm talking about the same thing you're saying. Bad information is everywhere in this age of disinformation. Nobody is below the law either, Mel. Yes, true. And that's a good point, right? That's what they keep saying. Nobody's above the law, nobody's above the law. But in regard to the president having a defense of any sort, number one, they're doing something that we just don't do in law. When there's a crime, we follow it back. We don't take a person and we follow them until we find a crime. That's not how we do things in our country, though that is how they have been doing this in regard to Trump. Um, so yeah, you're right. Everybody's making this big deal about how, well, now that they're allowing him, he's Trump has said that he wouldn't, or that we're not allowing him to have witnesses there, but now that we're allowing it, yes, but on uneven playing field. Um, you can come under certain circumstances that are not fair circumstances, that are not anything that he would have to face in a court of law, um, which, okay, I understand that this is not specifically a court of law, but if you're talking about impeaching a president of the United States, then shouldn't we make sure we're covering all of our bases, right? Giving both sides the full amount of, well, and the defendant the full ability to defend. Well, I mean, a rational person would say yes, but that is what it is. Bill says Reagan was the last before him, JFK, to be thinking and putting the America first and its citizens first. I agree, Bill, although I think, oh, Harley, tomorrow's trash day. Okay, sorry. Not trying to spread rumors about you. I was just trying to figure out what you were saying. So sorry. Um, um, yeah. So anyway, I question. Hmm, man, I loved Reagan. Um, but there are also some questionable things, like the um, was it National Vaccine Injury Act that he signed of 1986 that takes away um, all liability from vaccine manufacturers, whether you're a vaxxer or an anti-vaxxer or whatever you want to call yourself, doesn't matter. There's no reason why those who make any sort of drug that you're going to ingest, inject, whatever, should be given a free pass and not have any liability at all. That just, I don't care what side you're on. That should never have happened. All right. So hope you got that trash out. Trump has the soccer balls to say things no other president has, in my opinion. That's true. I mean, and I've said this before. I wish that he were not as um, um, rude. um, hang on just a second. Sorry. So, um, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the way that he speaks to people. Um, I've already stated my stance about being respectful, but on the other hand, he is a fighter, and it's something that many of us, myself included, have been frustrated with over the years with Republican politicians, whether they be presidents or any other politician, that um, they wouldn't fight. This idea that we would get into office, we Republicans would get into office, and um, you know, liberals are yelling about bipartisanship and how we need to be working together, and how dare you? And of course, we would be so nice and kind, and there are reasons why I think that happened, which what I won't go into, but um, all of a sudden we're in bed with um, the people that were not voted in. And when liberals get into office, they say, hey, we were voted in because of what we stand for. Therefore, we're going to push that. And so that's what Trump is doing. He's saying, no, the American people spoke. I'm here. They wanted what I have to bring. They wanted what I promised. Therefore, I'm going to deliver. So move out of my way. So for that, I love it. I wish you weren't so rude. But I love that he's a fighter because he is fighting for us. Um, so I lead a class on Thursdays of 14, 15-ish year olds. And we have been studying, sorry, I think something's under my chair and it was stopping me. And we have been studying the original documents, the Constitution, the Articles of Confederation, the Monroe Doctrine, all that good stuff. And so today we had blue books, which for those who don't know what blue books are, they're just really you get a blank piece of paper and you get a question or questions or whatever. And blue books are a way of celebrating what you know. And so you just write and write and write as much as you can. So my questions for them were, what have you learned? Let's see, what did I say? What have you learned about the founding and the character of your country? Um, has I'm going to mess this up a little bit in how I worded it, but something like um, has your nation changed, and if so, how? And then, if it has changed, um, have those changes been good? So that's what I had them write on, and um, I feel like our country had departed, um, had a little bit become unrecognizable to the point where I was a little bit concerned that we wouldn't be able to get it back. And that is what Trump has been fighting for. And we've talked about this before, but if you pray for that man, pray for his family. He is, I cannot even imagine um, the day in, day out, constant resistance, constant attacks, um, literally from morning to night, he is in a fight. And his days are really long. So his morning to night is not anything to sneeze at. He is in a fight. Uh, so said this before. I'm going to get off on a tangent. Sorry. You know, do what you can. Whether you have a show on YouTube, whether you have, friends around the water cooler, people you go to church with, whatever it is, speak truth. Um, whatever your circle is. I still haven't gotten to the fourth expert, but I'm going to try to catch up again. Oh, did Brian leave? Did I miss him leaving? Okay, I'm so sorry, Harley. I did not mean to imply anything. Oh, Felderman. He was the um, hmm, like the man-child looking guy. Again, not trying to be mean. He looked, I don't know, very young, maybe? I don't know. Oh yeah, she was a never Trumper from the moment she opened her elitist lips. From Stanford. Yeah, she was rough. Oh yes, yes. KK should be bringing him home soon, within a couple weeks or so, I think. Ah, hey, Robert Wallace. I'm finally catching up to you getting there. Oh my goodness, I'm so far behind. Professor Gerhardt, he was the one that was just kind of more average. I mean, he didn't really stand out like the other two did. Right. Bill, that's the one you're talking about. I'm asking you these questions, and if you answer, I'm going to be so late. Oh, the great informer's here. This is what happens when I skip down because I mess up my. Um, uh, okay, I'm seeing. Please get on Parlor. You're gonna. Is that how it's? Okay, I'm gonna have to. I'm just kind of scrolling here and seeing this. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, guys. Again, so far behind. Wow, so far behind. Okay, Professor Turley. Yes, I haven't even gotten to him yet. Um, Professor Turley, I liked him. So, based only on what I saw, he is one that I would say, when you're talking about people to serve on the Supreme Court, we're always talking about people who will put aside their personal opinions or beliefs and they will make decisions based on the Constitution, based on law, not creating law from the bench, right? But based on existing law. And now I'm not going to say because I don't know anything else about him. I'm only going to say for that little bit that I saw with his testimony, I would say that even though he did not vote for Trump, even though he does not support Trump, if everything else that he does is represented by what I saw on Tuesday of him, I would be good with him being on the Supreme Court. Because, yeah, he doesn't support Trump, but he was the only one there that I believe was there to truly defend the Constitution and uphold the Constitution. Okay. Oh, okay, Harley. That's unpleasant. um, oh, yeah, that's unpleasant. Um, that would definitely be a punishment. Um, yeah, sorry, making you explain all sorts of things to me tonight, aren't I? Great informer Tim Pool did a video about right-wing group targeting certain members of Antifa, but I don't know how true it is. Never looked at the article he sourced. Was he talking about the Proud Boys or some other group? Antifa is like when Hitler had the youth running around ratting out. Antifa is it's all about projection, right? Everything that they seem to say about us, that they seem to accuse about the other side, whatever, it all it's shocking to me that they actually have the guts to say these things. Oh, you guys are fascist. Really? So you either don't know what that word means or you're just lying through your teeth and projecting what you are actually representing here. Um, it's amazing to me. Oh, Brian, that does sound like an issue. Say yes, please write in full sentences so I know that you can put two thoughts together. Amazing to me how many places and how many things that George Soros is truly involved in or behind, right? So, and really well placed and very intentional, very um, strategic. Okay, don't get me wrong here. Okay, don't take what I'm saying wrong, but he really is in that way impressive, and that's the left has a few of those, and I think overall the left has been more strategic, more long-term thinking and planning than the right ever has. And headless, I'm saying left and right. I'm kind of with you though. I'm not saying that. I mean, I used to be like, yeah, the right, the right. I think there's a lot of scum suckers on both sides. So I'm still kind of using that verbiage, that terminology, and I might get to the point where I change that, um, but like that story that came out a little while ago, a few months ago, where he's putting money into these local races, right? And was it for judge? Was it for judge? I think it was for judge positions, wasn't it? Local races. And what are you doing? It's like what you were saying with Hitler and the Hitler Youth, right? You get them while they're young, right? Well, you get judges, you get politicians, you get them while they're babies in their field, and then you grow them up. You place them, and then you grow them up, and they become more and more powerful. It's a beautiful strategy, unfortunately. Um, okay, great informer. You cannot have a reasonable discussion with those who champion the nutritional value of Tide Pods and have pee poor skills at knowing what bathroom to use. You guys can interpret that. That's funny, but true. Okay, I'm trying to get through here a little bit faster. Headless and more genders than a Baskin Robbins has flavors. Oh my oh my word. I have got to remember that. Oh, okay. More genders than a Baskin Robbins has flavors. Okay, I'm gonna practice that one because that maybe it's because I grew up on Baskin Robbins that it hits me, but that was funny. Oh, oh, oh goodness. Yeah, see, great informer, you're with me a little bit in the um the hoping that you're gonna reach some people. Oh, hello, Rui. Rui, I hope that's how you say that. I'm sorry. Um, Nice to have you here. So I am not on Parlor. Uh, yes, praying for Trump, absolutely. I hope so. I've heard mixed opinions or messages on what is going to happen. That yes, it's going to blow things out of the water, or hey, this isn't going to be as big as we think this is going to be because there are still some operators in, well, the Justice Department. There's still some operators, in key positions in different um, places in the government. And so I hope so. Um, if not, I know that it's still coming, but of course, I'd rather it sooner than later, right? Um, Great Informer, I heard on Tony's show, I heard that piece about Derek Grayson. I believe, Rui, if you're still here, because I'm so far behind still, um, yeah, I believe that God is working. I believe that God is using Trump, and God uses imperfect people. So again, um, I'm not saying that Trump is perfect. I'm not saying he's doing it all, um, but I absolutely believe that God is using him. Yeah, I had not heard of Parlor. I will look that up. Great Informer. Yeah, Harley, I've had days, especially um, when things are going crazy, where I'm not able to even to watch any of my videos, and I have all these, announcements that are or notifications popping up and stuff. Um, um, but yeah. The Secret Service stole his football. Okay. Oh, flawless! I just got that. Oh goodness. Um, okay, so again, I will switch gears here and answer. Actually, if you guys have any questions about homeschooling and you want to just pop them in the chat, I will answer as I go. Um, just trying to catch up here. Whoop. Okay, I think. Oh, did Sam go to sleep? Good night, Sam. Oh wait, no, maybe it's Harley. This is what happens when my chat skips, um, and then I work my way backwards. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm almost caught up, guys. As long as I don't skip again. Oh, so Sam, um, if you're still here, they actually write it while we're in class. That's their it's like a version of a blue book or a final exam kind of thing. Um, and so they read it while they're in class. Um, and I have yet to read them because I got home not long ago. Good night, Joe. I probably missed her, but love you. And Harley. Yes, great informer. I will check out Parlor. Okay. Okay, come on. I'm getting. Okay, yeah. Okay. Um, Rui saying that because of Trump, he's now a Republican. I think that happened with a lot of people. So, Bill, I think that's your story as well, right? Uh, so, yeah. Okay. Now that I've gotten caught up, um, Trump woke me to the evil of the liberal leftist demon rats. Um, well, I think that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. He calls it like it is, as obnoxiously as he does. He fights back, and that's, he says the things that we've all been thinking for the longest time, but but Republicans um, tended to not say those things, right? So, the fact that we have video evidence of you saying one thing and now you're saying something else. Okay, that's lying. Okay, you're a liar. Unless they come out and say, unless they're saying, yeah, I thought this, now I believe this, right? Um, but they're coming out and saying, oh, well, I never wanted the wall, or, oh, the wall's so horrible, or whatever, and completely ignoring the fact that they wanted the wall, a few months, a couple of years, whatever ago. And so that's what Trump does. He calls it for what it is. You're lying. But no one before has done that. Um, they've let those things slide by way of taking the high road. And I think there is a way of taking the high road, but still being honest, and still calling things what they are. So, it's like, gee, great informer. Okay. What are you talking about, Robert Wallace? McCain and Palin. Oh, who you voted for before? I was always Republican. Um, I voted, yeah, I've always voted Republican. I did when I was really young. I would say it's not about the party, it's about the person. Um, and then I think that's a great, idealist view. But then I got to the point where I couldn't bring myself to vote for someone who would willingly align themselves with what the Democrat Party was saying that they stood for. And so, as much as I did actually, I will say I did once, and that was for a position of sheriff that was not, wasn't really political. Um, and so I did on that one, um, because I knew him in the sense that I had worked around and um, been around it through other people around him, um, and so felt like he would do a good job at, in the role of sheriff, um, and so I did. But uh, as a general principle, I just I just couldn't see voting for someone who would say, "Yes, I stand and I represent the Democrat Party," with all the things that the Democrat Party was saying that they stood for. Now, having said that, I look back on some of the people that I did support, and I look back on some of the people who I not just supported with my vote, but I supported um, what I thought was in an ideological way, and I now regret that. Now, were there better options? I don't think so. um, you know, so I don't know what the alternative would have been as far as electability. But we find things out, we learn, we wake up. So, all right. So, oh, okay. I will say one more thing about the hearings. Um, I thought it was, you know, it's humorous because of how obvious some of what the Democrats are doing is, how obvious it is. Um, so, for example, the lead counsel was asking some questions, right? And so at one point, and I'm gonna butcher what he said, it's not an exact quote, but he was asking, um, excuse me, he was asking how, or if they thought that Trump had done an impeachable offense. Okay, and there were actually a couple times where he asked things like this. Um, so I might be mixing up my verbiage a little bit, but it was really funny and obvious because he went down the line and he asked this one, yes, Trump, impeach him, take him out back. Go to the next one. And you? Oh, absolutely. I agree. Horrible, horrible. And you? Oh, yes. Totally impeachable. Absolutely. And then that's it. Don't ask the fourth one. He did that like 2 or 3 times. And it was so funny. And then there was this moment where he asked, okay, fourth one, Turley, right? The one who didn't support Trump, didn't vote for him, but who was also saying, hey, this impeachment thing that's going on right now is not a good thing. It's not being done in the right way. Um, and he was even saying, look, I'm not totally against investigating, and I think that's good and all that, but we should not be impeaching a president of the United States in this way, like this. Um, hey, Robert, Robert Nazawa. um, oh, it was hilarious, Bill, because it was so obvious. Okay, so then when they asked Turley, um, so then there was a moment where lead counsel asked him, "Did you write?" And so he quoted something that he had written in a publication um, a few months back. And Turley said, "Well, yes, I did. Um, but I wrote more that was a caveat, but there was a caveat and I wrote more, or something like that." And then he started to say, and lead counsel totally shut him down. No, don't want to hear it, move on. And there was this moment right then where the two of them, um, at least to me, it looked like they either exchanged a moment, a look, or to themselves, they were doing this. And they both had this little smile, but their smiles, um, to me, represent different things. Okay, so Turley, our constitutional expert, his smile was one that said to me, "Ah, see what you're doing. You got me. All right." Using an attorney's tools, right? Pick this thing out. Don't let you speak, right? That's what you do in cross examination. You make them agree to everything you're saying. And if they try to add more, then you cut them off. Say yes or no, yes or no only. Um, yes. Okay, Benny, love you. Thank you for coming. Um, and I think just as attorneys, as an attorney himself, as a law professor, he was able to respect the game that was being played. He was able to respect the tactic and be like, "Yep, I see where you're going. I see what you're doing. You got me," kind of thing. And then lead counsel, his little smirk was, to me, one that was like, "Oh yeah, I know you know what I'm doing." Like little boy getting away with something, right? Um, that's what I just did. It was so in that moment. Okay, not that I respect this guy at all, but it was it was really funny because you could see their skill and their knowledge of one another, as far as professionally, where that was coming in. And it was this very interesting dance, this very interesting game that they were playing. It was really interesting. So anyway, that's at least what I thought. Bill, I don't know if you're saying true as in you're agreeing with me or true something else. Um, Maybe you were truing Wallace. Oh, oh no, you were truing Wallace, I think. It reminds me of the courthouse episode. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. Okay. So anyway, that was pretty interesting and kind of funny. Okay, so um, I didn't have any notes for that. I was just going based off of what I remembered about the hearings. Um, if you're on Twitter, you can see, unless I'm busy, like while I was doing Latin with my daughter, I wasn't tweeting out as much, not nearly. But if I have the ability, I'm like the whole time, and oh, this guy said this, and oh, this guy did this, and oh, he really got him here, and oh, uh, you know, this representative did a really good job here, whatever. And that's a thing, like Headless was saying, he doesn't trust any politicians. Good night, Rui. Good night. Thank you for coming. Um, that he doesn't trust any politicians. And that's true. I mean, I can totally understand why. But there are some, okay, Matt Gaetz is one, because he's on both, right? He's on both the judiciary and the intelligence committees, if I'm remembering correctly. There's a couple of them are. And for those guys, I mean, any of them, honestly, they're running such long hours. They're doing their homework. They are, um, they kind of have the short end of the stick, right? So, um, like when they're saying, "Hey, Schiff just gave us his report last night, right? And now here we are doing this." So, with as little time as they're getting to prepare for everything, or in some cases, not being able to prepare because they're not getting all of the information, um, they're doing a phenomenal job. And I can only think that the amount of work that they are putting in for this fight, um, and there are some of those, like Gates, who, like I said, I believe is on both of those committees. You've got long, long, long hours in hearings, and then you've got long prep hours. And I know that they have staff, and I know all that, right? But they still have to own that information. You can have staff research stuff for you. You can have staff help come up with questions, but you can tell when these people own the information, and you can tell when they know what they're talking about, and when they're able to respond to, um, to what has happened, not just to, you know, read the questions off the list that some staffer has given them. And so for that, I am greatly appreciative at the sacrifice and the fight that they are putting in, um, because they're fighting for the president, and for the presidency, for the executive branch, in a way that I'm not able to, right? Um, so I appreciate that. Hope to see you again, Rui. Um, okay, so um, I said I was going to talk about homeschooling. Um, if you still want to bring up points about this, you can. I'm just going to talk for a minute about homeschooling. Um, and what I will say to begin with is that, um, there can be, I don't know, almost like a weird competition or whatever of sorts between, um, people who homeschool their kids, or people who put their kids in private school, or people who have their kids in public school, or whatever. And the way I feel about it is, for the most part, everybody thinks that what they're doing is the best option. Because most people, now, some people will say, I would like to do this, but I can't afford it, or I can't, whatever, right? So I get that. But most people are going to make the choice that they think is best. Um, and so I'm not sitting here and saying, you know, I think option number, option A is the best one. So I'm totally gonna pick option B. I totally am gonna do second best, right? We all are doing the best for our children that we think, right? And so I don't blame anybody for thinking that their educational choice for their kids is the best one. Okay, totally good with that. I think that my my choice for my children is the best one. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it, right? So, no offense at all. Um, I have no problem with thinking that, or, with accepting that people are choosing what they think is the best option. So, homeschooling is legal. We'll start there. Not everybody realizes that. Um, Homeschooling is as varied as anything else is. Um, the people who homeschool are as varied. Thank you, Rui. As anyone, as any other family is. The children are homeschool. Are the children are um, as varied as any other child. Brian, it doesn't depend on the state. It is actually currently legal everywhere. The requirements on homeschoolers is different in every state. So some homeschoolers can homeschool, in some states with almost no oversight or no uh, hoops to jump through or whatever. And some, uh, it's very, very tight. So, for example, in my state, we don't have to report anything or claim anything or whatever until the kids are 8 years old. At the point that they're 8 years old, they have to, we do have to get them tested each year. And that can be, um, hang on. Um, and that can be um, a couple different kinds. So it can be a standardized test, or it can be what do they call it? Non-test assessment, where you actually meet with someone who's certified and they work with them and test them that way. Oh, Brian! Oh my goodness. Okay, I saw you earlier in I think Tony's chat, and so it did not. I just clued into the fact that you're here. So welcome, Brian. Brian, the AC guy. That's really funny. Sorry, I didn't mean to just gloss over you coming in. I literally had just been thinking that you were here. So, because I'd seen you earlier, uh, but that was in a different chat. So, so anyway, yeah. So it depends on the state. We have to, once they're 8 years old, we have to file a declaration of intent with the state with the school district each year to say, yes, we intend to homeschool for the year. And then we have to keep records of their school year. Now, the records and the testing, we don't have to turn that into anyone. That's just for us. However, unless they are at some point, unless we do at some point choose to put them into school, then the schools need that in order to be to have a starting place of where to place them. So that's what it is in my state. In other places, there's not as much, and in some places there's more. There are more requirements. So, so it is legal everywhere in the United States, not legal in Germany. Um, but people homeschool for all sorts of reasons. People homeschool for faith-based reasons. People homeschool for educational reasons. People homeschool nowadays. A lot more people are homeschooling because they're trying to avoid vaccination laws. I mean, really, there's been hey, James. There's been, droves of people, like in New York, I think homeschooling rates went up by 57%, I believe, is the number I heard, because of the vaccination laws that were passed. People homeschool because they want to homeschool. They want to educate in a different manner than how kids are homeschooled, or how kids are educated in a more traditional school. And I say traditional, I will say modern, because um, traditional is actually not what we have in the schools now. That's not how, for example, the founders of our nation were educated. So the other thing is people. Oh yes, Sandra, Sam. Uh, so she's asking about any research on how colleges respond to homeschooled students. Well, so 15, 20 years ago, colleges were still a little gun shy. However, what they have really found is that homeschool students on, you know, uh, for the majority, actually come into college more prepared for college. Um, what college professors are realizing, so for example, a science professor, when asking their students to do a research paper, um, a lot of them are realizing that they actually have to go back and have a lesson on how to write a research paper, that kind of thing. Kids aren't coming into college with the knowledge of how to approach that. So, a science professor, like I said, for example, has to um, has to catch them up on how to do this kind of assignment. And now let's give you the information. Um, so if you and this is something that you can do as well. You can go on college websites and you can go into their admissions section, and a lot of them actually will have sections for homeschooling families because they want homeschooling families or students so badly. They will say, "Hey, this is what we want to see. This is what a transcript looks like. This is what this looks like. Um, this is what we want you to do in order to submit this to us to make this a successful transaction." Um, Remember that schools, colleges are just businesses. They're just businesses. Um, so so actually, yeah, colleges are seeking out homeschoolers. Now, now I know, you might be going, "Oh yeah, she's biased." You can go and you can look at college admissions sites. And what I will say again is that homeschooled students are as varied as anything else, okay, as any other student, in the sense that, so the way that we homeschool is very intentional. Um, and the level of intensity that we school at um, is, how do I say this? Impressive. And I don't mean that as in, oh, you should be impressed. I just mean as in, um, you know, in a weight kind of a way, if that makes sense. Um, that's for us. Okay, that's what we do. However, um, there are homeschooling families who like there's something called unschooling. Okay, and unschoolers tend to have the opinion that it's a little bit more child focused, where they go where the child is. So let's wake up today and figure out what you would like to learn. Oh, you want to study fish? Okay, let's go to the aquarium. You want to study the trees, or whatever, let's go for a nature walk. um, so there's that approach as well. Okay, these are two very um, different approaches, and there's everything in between. Okay, there's um, kind of homeschooling that models more of what you see in schools today. So it's a modern way of education. There's also the classical model of education. Um, the classical model just says, I love the classical model because it's not just about kids. It really says this is how any person at any age learns anything. Okay. And there's the belief that you're teaching lifelong learning skills, which um, so what it does is equips the student to learn anything. You know, we have kids till they're what, 18-ish, right? I can't teach my kids everything that I want them to know, everything that I think that they should know, all the stuff that I don't know, right? That I still think that they should know, and all the stuff that I don't even realize that I don't know that they should know, right? I only have 18 years with them, but I can equip them to be able to learn anything. Um, and that's the thing. Learning doesn't end at 18 or graduation. Learning doesn't end after college or in a trade. It doesn't end. So the idea is, even if I've used this excuse before, or this example before, if you have a 80-year-old that's never had a computer before and you put a computer in front of them, you're going to have to start at the grammar stage. Just give them the vocab, keyboard, right? Um, when we had a lot of desktops around, then you've got, your mouse or your mouse pad, or, um, monitor, CPU. I know some of this is a little bit older, but it's the vocab, right? They cannot make it hum. They can't make it work for them if they don't know the vocab. If you are an electrician, well, there's certain vocab that you have to know. I don't know that vocab, so I can't use an excuse there. But oh, okay. I love this question, Brian. I'm going to get to that. Okay, so anyway, you got to know the vocab. Um, okay, so hang on just a second. Let me back up here. Um, the other thing too is, years ago, um, like I would hear things like, "Oh, I knew this homeschooling family once, and oh, their kid was so shy, and they were so, internal and whatever." Well, honestly, my response to that is, I've known public school kids that are that way too, right? So just because they're educated a certain way, you can't completely take away their personalities, right? They have personalities. Some people are more quiet. Some people are more shy. Some people are introverted. Some people are extroverted. That is not, that might be influenced by, but it's not 100% a result of how they're educated, if that makes sense. Okay, so hang on, keep asking questions. I'll be right back. I just gotta take care of something real quick. Okay, sorry. Um, Public schooling or college is a scam. I'd recommend trade schools. Um, I mean, that's part of this too, is that Well, number one, I don't believe that we should do anything just because it's the next step. I think if we are going to have our kids go to college, um, or if our kids are going to go to college, whatever, that it needs to be for an intentional reason, not just because, well, that's what you do after high school. Um, I, I think that that was the bill that was sold to us. You even have secular authors who are saying the same thing. It's not that it's a faith-based or not issue. Um, we were sold this bill that in order to be successful, in order to get somewhere in life, you had to have a college degree. And you had a lot of people getting college degrees and finding that the amount of debt that they were in, the jobs that they were getting, um, weren't balancing out the costs of that college degree. And you also have a bunch of trades that have a real shortage now because you have so many people that were funneled toward college and they weren't looking at trades. And now you got some people in the trades who are making some good money because um, because there's a high demand for them because there aren't enough people who have um, gone into various trades. At a high school government class teacher teach us that if we commit a crime, tell a law enforcement officer immediately and you will be pardoned of the crime. Over the last 30 years, I've learned otherwise. I hate to know how you learned that, Brian. I'm sorry. Sounds like the School of Hard Knocks is how that sounds. Um, okay, so, whoops. God bless me. So I the chair is comfy. Um, oh yeah, I can fall asleep in this chair. It is nice and comfy. Um, okay, so Brian, regarding this, it's socialization, the question of socialization. Um, so you said two things. I worry about the social aspects, and then you also say my friends that were homeschooled were not social butterflies. They weren't really allowed to, which I found sad. Okay, so there's a couple of pieces to that. One, I don't know how old you are. I'm not making assumptions, but we have gone through um, different swings. So, for example, about 30 years ago, um, is that right? 35 years ago, maybe? You were still dealing with homeschooling being illegal in a lot of places. And so you had families who were um, doing what they felt was right, but they had to hide, for lack of a better term. And so they were trained. Someone knocks on the door, everybody's in the closets or under their beds or whatever. So you went from that to homeschooling becoming legal and a fight to make homeschooling legal. Um, but then it became legal, and there weren't a whole lot of resources. There wasn't a whole lot of support for it because it had not been legal. So, of course, they weren't going to be having a whole lot of support for it, right? Um, but as time has gone on, that has changed. It's changed greatly. A lot more people, number one, are homeschooling. A lot more people recognize homeschooling. And so you actually now have the amount of curriculum to start with and the amount of programs, homeschooling programs that I have to choose from is literally dizzying. Okay. The first um, homeschool curriculum fair conference and, walked into this big old gym or whatever it was full of curriculum. And it was in a conference center. It was in a convention center. So I call it a gym. It wasn't a gym. It was this massive thing in the convention center. It was So overwhelming with the amount of resources available. I walked in with my older sister. I literally grabbed onto her arm, and she was like, "I know, it's okay. Don't worry." I thought, "Holy cow." Now, I mean, my oldest was 3 at the time. This was my first kind of foray into this, um, and it was so overwhelming. There are tons of support groups out there. There are co-ops out there. There are, um, email loops. There are homeschool sports groups. Um, you know, my son, I'll say my son, all of them, but they've been involved in flag football. Okay, flag football, I get it, yeah, but even from when they were young, baseball, basketball, soccer. There's another one out there that we don't do. But we've got access where we live, we've got access to 2 homeschool sports groups, one's south and one's north. It's not as, um, what do I wanna say, as kind of formal as some. I know some, like in the Southeast, where they have massive leagues and 501(c)(3)s created for this, and I mean, and actually we have some of that too, but not to the degree that they do. Excuse me. And um, so I think there's depends on some timing issues. It also depends just on family. Maybe that family just plain I mean, honestly, there was a time based on the kids that were in the neighborhood and right around the house where I was like, "That's it. Move me to 10 acres, put me in the middle, and put a 10-foot fence around the whole place because 'cause I'm done with neighbor kids." But I'm not so sure that that's just a homeschooling thing. Um, I think that, maybe other parents sometimes feel that way too. Um, so so I think timing, where we were in the history, and just plain family personalities and what's going on with them and all that. Um, okay, so that's part of it. Now, as far as just in general socialization, um, I have a few thoughts on that. One, with my kids being homeschooled, um, they actually interact with more different groups and varied groups of people than people who than generally um, kids who are in school. Uh, you know, you can have city sports and all that, but a lot of times you'll have, you go to school with these kids, you play sports with these kids, whatever else, right? Um, because of the way that the homeschool community is set up, I mean, I have girls who um, are part of the the a private swim club, and with that, they swim with kids who are in public school. They swim with kids who are homeschooled, um, private school kids, whatever. Um, so they're doing that. Then we have the actual homeschooled sports stuff that we do. Um, there are debate clubs. Um, there are all sorts of music things and all that, and it's not all done. I guess one of the differences is it's not all done within the school. Now I know that not that's not 100% of what happens with school kids either, but it is more of a majority where you're in you're actually kind of in a little bit of a bubble that way too. um, the other thing, my other piece on that, is that I have to ask myself what kind of socialization I want for my kids. And I desire to raise my kids to be adults. I desire to raise them to be mature, thinking, logical, um, productive members of society. um, And to some degree, and this is just me, I'm raising them to be leaders. Now, does that mean I'm raising them to be, you know, a CEO or a politician? Or, no, not necessarily. I believe that you can lead in many different ways. Um, I believe that I can lead from home. Okay. So, um, but if I am desiring that for my kids, if that's how I'm trying to raise them, then my goal is to give them the kind of model, the kind of example that I'm wanting them to follow. Okay. Um, so am I raising them to be a bunch of, you know, 11 and 12-year-olds? No, I'm raising them to be adults. Um, Now, does that mean that they're never around kids? Absolutely not. One of the things that you'll find in the homeschooling community, for the most part, that I've seen, is that homeschool kids have the ability to be in conversation, um, uh, to identify, to connect with people of varying ages. And that's because they're used to it. My kids have no issues talking to adults. And one of the responses that I get, or one of the reactions I get a lot of times, and it's not just me. I mean, I am talking about my kids, but this is a common thread amongst my friends as well. Um, is that, I will have adults say to me, wow, your kids are actually talking to me. Or, they can actually carry on a conversation with adults. Um, because there's not that huge generation gap. Because homeschooling families generally have more kids, generally, um, and they are around kids of various ages, um, especially when my kids were younger. Everything was as families. So if we were having people over for a birthday party, it wasn't like, oh, this one, little girl that's a friend of my little girl, you can come over for the birthday party. It was, hey, you and your family, you and the siblings, whatever, come over for birthdays. Um, and because of that, they're used to being around people of varying ages, and there's not the separation. It's not like you go from fifth grade of being the peon to sixth grade and now you're the king of the school, right? um no. Now, I'm not saying that none of that exists, okay? I'm just saying it's less likely in the homeschooling realm. I also, um, I have friends who have put their kids in school, like for high school, and they'll say things like, "I want them to have a little bit of a real world experience um, before they leave the house." And that always shocks me a little bit, because if I look at a um, a high school experience, a public or private school, whatever, it's the farthest thing from real world that I think you can imagine. Nowhere in my life have I been in a situation where I'm surrounded by people within a year or two, maybe 3 or 4 years of my age. Um, at no time in my life have all my interactions been with people who live within this radius of the school, or of the workplace. At no point in my life have I been in a workplace situation or a church situation or whatever, where um, the greater majority of the people there, of my coworkers or whatever, have um, generally the same background that I have. So for me, it's a very false reality. And I don't actually think I'm training my kids um, in social situations um, in a special way by having them in that situation. I don't think it's a more real world situation. Okay. Okay, so hold on. So I've been talking for a long time. Sorry. Oh, yeah, Brian. So, yeah, you're around my age, and when I was in high school, I had a girlfriend who was homeschooled, and it was definitely at that point still it was legal, but it wasn't. It didn't have quite the support system that we have now. Um, yeah, and Sam, not saying that a degree is bad. All I'm saying, and what I tell people who homeschool, is that be intentional. If you're going to go to college, if you're going to get a degree, do it because you're being intentional about it. You have an actual reason for doing it, not simply because it's the next step. And if you're going to do it, um, make an intentional choice about where you send them. Um, okay, liberal arts degree, sorry, not funny, not that funny. They were tricked or convinced to buy into their debt. Um, yeah, I mean, I have thoughts on that. I mean, great books, colleges. Again, it's a matter of learning how to think, which is the problem. We, in our society, in our culture, we have, and I think intentionally, I think through the school system, we have been, we have lost the ability to think. We've lost the ability to learn. We go to an expert to get answers. Um, my educational philosophy is that that's not the way it should be. I need to equip my children to not only be able to answer the right questions correctly, but to be able to know what questions to ask, how to find the answers, what sources are good sources, reliable sources, and then find the answers, if that makes sense. Um, okay, we don't need government. What? Um, I'm not sure what you're responding to on that one. Um, but yes, we don't need the government to wipe our rears for us. And I think even I think even conservatives can sometimes fall into a trap because we tend to move with culture. Like, and so when culture has moved so far this way, and I think, oh, I'm pretty conservative. I don't rely on the government that much. But I really need to look at if I were to move culture back to where it used to be, if I were to move um, government back to where it used to be, where would I be then? And that's where I think that um, we have to be real careful because, yes, we might be more independent. We might want smaller government, but how would that compare to 100 years ago? How would that compare to what the founding fathers intended? How would that compare to, roll it back, however far you want to go? The left now wants to dictate what is taught in private schools in certain states. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. Any private school, most, are going to be accredited. The thing about accreditation is that it's one place. The accreditation, um, uh, both in accrediting schools and in uh, the requirements for like teacher certificates and stuff like that, um, it doesn't matter you know, if it's private or public, it doesn't matter where you teach. The accreditation, the requirements are the same. They're the same standards set by the same entity. So whether you're private school, public school, there's a base foundation there that they share. Um, and I don't think people always realize that. Frankly, the left wants to dictate what is taught to all children. um, because again, they're intentional, they are strategic, they are long thinking, they are long-term thinkers, which again, I mean, not to pat them on the back because it's unfortunate, but it's something that they do very well. And it's something that we have not done very well, which is why we're where we're at. Um, I keep referring back to it, but that the video series I did on the systematic normalization of pedophilia, that's the point, is that this kind of stuff has been planned for decades, decades, intentional trying to move this way. The homosexual movement intentionally separated themselves from pedophiles in the 70s, I believe it was, because they knew that they could not further their agenda if they were still attached to pedophiles. Intentional. So that's what we need to be. So yes, great informer, the left wants to dictate what is taught, but to all children, because that's where they get them. That's where you change culture. You are way more liberal than they were. Their whole thing was to prevent too much outside influence. Um, well, again, I think you could find families today that are like that as well. I think for that, it may not be a timing issue. It may just be a a family personality issue. And like I said, you're going to find that. You're going to find those homeschoolers who, you know, are holed up in the house and who don't socialize with anybody or who don't have interactions. I don't even like the word socialize, but don't have interactions with anybody. So yeah, you're going to find that. And I would say that I discuss a lot with my children. And that's the thing. I was in a Bible study class years ago, a precepts class where the leader had been a bank teller in her earlier days. And she said, the way that they teach us to spot a fraud, a counterfeit, is not by it's not by studying the counterfeits. It's by studying the real thing. And you get to know the real thing so well that the minute you see a counterfeit, boom, you can spot it because you know the real thing. You know the truth so well. And so my kids are going to come in contact with a lot of things. I'll use abortion as an example. And granted, my kids are now older, but even when they were a little younger, I did talk to them about abortion. Not young, but younger. But it was how I talked to them, right? So I would talk to them about, well, some people decide that they don't want the babies that are in their tummies, and they decide that they're going to kill them. So yes, that can be a little harsh, but not as harsh as what can be said about abortion. Okay. Um, and so, and again, they weren't 5 when I was telling them that. I'm just saying they were a little bit younger. So I talk to my kids about a lot. Um, I talked to them about the impeachment hearings. I talked to them about this transgenderism stuff. I talked to them about, um, and honestly, like when we go through a drive-through and get someone who is very obviously of the alphabet soup community, my kids' reactions to that is, oh, like that's uncomfortable. They, even when they were younger, before they had a label or a name to put to that, they, that was like, something's wrong here. Right. And I didn't necessarily explain to them, well, that's because they're gay and that, when they were young enough. Right. But they just knew something was off. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's more liberal or what, but in some ways I do somewhat shelter my kids. In some ways I do protect them a lot. In other ways I don't. Um, I don't know. It, I'm okay with speaking truth to them, and I'm okay with, you know, one of my reasons, one of my reasons for homeschooling, I said that people have lots of reasons, right? Um, one of my reasons is because um, I believe I'm supposed to raise them up in the way they should go. Okay. And I believe I'm supposed to teach them. And um, I think that's a very difficult battle when you're in a situation where you are barely with them in a day. Um, where you have mere moments, and those are usually rushed moments in the morning where you've either got coming home from work or you've got coming home from sports or whatever. Um, you've got dinner to be made and all of that. You've got homework to be done. Um, how much time does that truly give you to speak into your child's life in comparison to what um, to the 6, 7, 8, how many hours that they have outside of that of active instruction. Um, so I just think it's a strong battle um, to do that. So for me, um, that's a big part of my reasoning. My reasons have developed over the years. Again, I truly believe that the education system is broken. Um, I don't believe in the model of the modern education system. I believe in equipping my kids with the skills of learning, and I don't believe I was equipped that way. And I have been learning how to learn too. I've spent years learning how to learn, um, and I don't think that modern education uh, lends itself to that. How do the kids feel and think about not being in public schools? Um, my kids love it. My kids have never once wanted to be. I think I may have at once like threatened or something like I'm going to put you in the school. Um, but um, yeah, now I'm not saying that that happens with all homeschooling families. I know some where the kids really fight to be public schooled. In my circle, in my realm, a lot of times that happens because they see that the public school kids are working. There's less expectation of them as far as the level of work and the amount of work. Um, and I mean, heck, if I were a kid, they're getting to do less than I am. Sure, I might want to be there, right? I don't blame them for that. Um, but my kids just never have had that, and they do appreciate, um, because even with as intentional and strategic as we are in our schooling, um, you know, we have the ability. We still have some flexibility. We have the flexibility to go, on a little family vacation in May when everybody else is still in school, right? Or um, now, having said that, my kids generally do math all through the summer. So there are, I don't know, there are pluses and minuses, but my kids personally have always been very happy about it. One of the things is I have taught my kids from very young, I love babies. Okay. Like almost to an unhealthy degree. I adore babies. Some people it's like newborns, they don't know what to do with them or whatever. Give me a newborn, give me those sleepless nights. Mm, love me babies. Okay. Um, and so my kids have always um they've been raised that way. So even my son loves little ones. He loves little kids. He's that older kid, and it's awesome because we got to have this. We got to have the older kid who allowed them to, use him as a jungle gym and allowed them to, follow him around like puppy dogs, like, oh, what are you doing here? No, what are you doing? Where so often that would be irritating, right, to a teenager or whatever. But he really provided a model of um, of patience and willingness to value them, and so, for example, my son has kind of taken on that role, which is awesome. But we'll be in a grocery store or something, and he'll see a little baby, and he'll go, "Oh, mom, isn't he so cute? Don't you just want to take him home?" Like, yes, but that's illegal. People look down on that when you do that. And it's a little bit of a joke with us, but it's because they're valuable, they're precious, they're beautiful, they're amazing. And um, I look at those 5-year-olds who are getting on a bus, and I'm like, wow, they are practically babies, you know. So anyway, okay, told you I have an unhealthy love for babies. If I could just have babies, love. Um, okay, hold on. Oh, hey, red pill. Okay, now I gotta get back to. Oh, I'm way behind again. Well, crud. Sorry, guys. Get me talking about kids and babies, and obviously I lose my head. Real world expectation would be a job. Okay, so Bill, that's a great point. But here's the thing: I am not raising my kids um, with the end result of getting a job because I believe in any role, whether they are an employee or an employer, that there's a value in being able to think. Um, to have an employee who can think is a valuable asset and a rare asset. Um, Now, that's not to say that they shouldn't have jobs. Um, I absolutely believe that they should. Um, but I don't think that training them in the way I am excludes them from being prepared for a job. In fact, what I tend to find um, with kind of my group of people is that the kids who graduate, their um, their interests, their passions are so varied that they want to do everything, and they're so excited about so many things. And the ones who do go to college, most of them that I know go for double majors because they can't do just one thing. Um, so anyway, okay, logical thinking, problem solving skills are sorely needed, and I don't think they have special classes in it anymore, right? The whole college thing is a scam. It is clear now, hopefully. Right. And so, that's what I was saying. I actually do think that college is valuable in some cases. But again, it has to be intentional. There has to be a reason for it, not just because it's the next step. Um, necessity, the mother of all inventions, but knowledge has been suppressed. Trades are hurting and will, yes, yes, exactly, Robert Wallace. That's what I was saying. I mean, it's a great time to get into the trades um, because people are needed. Hello, Aunt. Thank you for coming. Um, people are needed. There's a shortage, so they're actually getting paid really well. Um, so that's not an argument. The fact that you can't make anything in the trades or whatever, that's not an argument. And you don't have to pay for the college degree to do that. So again, I'm not saying never do college. I think there are specific reasons for college. Millennials need a long remote hike to show them lack and true hardship. That's a good point, but honestly, I think that's a good point for our entire society, and I think that even shows in and maybe Great Informer touched on this, but it even shows in how people feel towards our freedoms or what kind of government we should have, because they only know the freedoms that we have. They only know, and generally, those who have come from more oppressive um, cultures and societies, uh, when you have people who have immigrated from Czechoslovakia and Russia and just various places, right? Um, they are passionate about America and about the way we do things because they've seen what it's like to not have those um, those freedoms and to have the government dictate so much of what you do and what you can do, and what you can have and what you can say. Um, so, whereas I agree with you, James, uh, just as far as lack and true hardship, I think it's more than just millennials. I think just as a society, as a culture, that's part of the issue is we don't recognize what we have. The right is finally getting more organized. Groups like Young Americans Against Socialism. Yes, you're right, Great Informer. And that is a wonderful thing to see because there is finally some organization and some intentionality. I don't know yet how much strategy and long-term planning are um, are involved. I don't think there's enough evidence yet or information yet. Um, so Red Pill Marine has some fun stuff on Twitter. If you guys don't know him, thank you. Um, I try to be a great mom. um, you know, I mess up all the time. I mess up all the time, and I have one of my daughters um, likes to point out when I'm not doing my job the way I should be doing my job, and then I like to point out that when she has teenagers and is raising teenagers, and knows everything, then we can talk and she can come and tell me about all the things that I did wrong. Now, having said that, I love her to death. She is also the one who most appreciates me and most recognizes what I'm doing. So it's two sides of the same coin with her. But so I guess I kind of have to take the licks to get the good stuff out of her too. Um, yeah, I'm working on the trash talking. I'm not so great at the trash talking, um, but I have great instructors, so maybe I'll get better at that. Um, that's true with anything. Let it be true with the Bible. I'm not positive what you're responding to, James. God first, yes. How do James and Red work? Okay. Yeah, headless. I hope you're unpacking. I think you're unpacking now, right? Or are you still packing? Actually, I'm not positive about that. I've been packing too, just not well, actually some of my stuff too, but my parents to help them move. Okay, yeah, so you're still packing. Um, hang on a second. Yeah. Do you need something? Oh, that one's good. The other one's not. Are they the same style? Yeah. Okay. 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 Sounds good. Hey, see if the other one fits the other child. Okay. 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 We have some swimsuit issues in competition this weekend. So, don't you have to try liver to say you don't like it? Okay, I'm not sure what you're responding to. And I will answer in an admittedly illogical way. I'm going to say, "No, I don't have to try it to know I don't like it." Although I know that's illogical thinking. So, grass is not always greener, but you have to learn the hard way. I'm not sure what we're talking about, guys, but KK loves babies too. Okay, so here's what I love about especially newborns. So this gets into a faith issue. I understand. Um, so for those of you who believe the way I believe, whatever, um, I believe that we're all sinful, even babies. But when they are newborns, that is there's a moment that they are not manipulative. We are so manipulative as a people. Um, and I can't stand manipulation. Um, I hate the games that people play. And I'm a woman, and I can say that I don't like manipulation, and I hate the manipulative games that women play. Having said that, guys, you are not off the hook because I have met more manipulative guys than I can shake a stick at. Okay. So, um, but babies, they don't cry because, like, and I'm talking newborns, okay? They very quickly learn how to manipulate, but um, they don't cry because they're trying to manipulate you. If they're crying, they truly do need something. They need to be changed. They need to be fed. They need to be held. Okay. So that's my very, very favorite stage. Okay. I'm not going to get off track on that again. Just babies. Stinking amazing. And the giggles, when they start to giggle, when they smile, when their faces light up. or just the way they feel. They're so soft. Okay, I'm so done. I'm sorry. Um, red pill, that's a good, um, good standard. If I haven't used it in 6 months, I don't need it unless it's, of sentimental value or valuable, or a firearm that maybe hasn't come out of the rotation recently. Never get rid of those. Um, all babies are not gorgeous. Okay, I will, I will agree with you on that. Um, I, in fact, two of the babies that I have thought, oh heavens, about, um, um, have been like two of my best friends' kids, which is so hard because you're like, oh, oh, okay. It's a little shocking sometimes, but they're adorable inside. I don't know. All my babies have been gorgeous. So I'm not, um, biased or anything, but yeah, they've been adorable. So, um, a friend, okay, well, tell your friend hello. Yeah, mine are about grown. Not as cute as they used to be. Certainly not the same effect when they sit in my lap. um, not that they don't try, not that they don't. I mean, they'll still sit in my lap. I don't care. Literally, they're all taller than me, but I don't care. They can sit in my lap. Um, say go back to caveman days. You might have to expound on that idea a little bit. Okay, I don't know. Men carry clubs and clubs thrown over the head. Maybe not expand on that thought a little bit, Robert Wallace. Oh my goodness. Yep, they were good. Now I have to play Conan Exiles on PC to do that legally. Oh, yeah. You could have all college degrees in the world, and I take the one with street smarts. Smarts are much more important than degrees. Well, especially red pill when you're talking about a position like um, uh, like a sheriff's deputy to have those street smarts. Um, I used to work at the sheriff's office too, not in the same role, but yeah. Needs are different than manipulation, and we instinctively are driven to have those needs met. Yes, Sandra. Um, okay, red pill. I will admit, I will absolutely say that women tend to be more gifted at manipulation. It tends to come more naturally to women. Um, so I will totally give you that. That does not mean that does not mean that um, men can't be really manipulative as well. And yes, Brian, I do agree um, that a lot of manipulation is unconscious. So I had one of my daughters, what did she do? She did one of these, and this was a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. She had some sort of outfit on, and she came and asked me, how it looked and whatever else. And she did that female thing, right? Um, I think it was the, uh, like you're searching for compliments. And I stopped her right there. And I said, no, that's manipulation. We don't do that. Okay. That's what manipulative females do. We aren't manipulative females. Okay. If you're asking how this outfit looks, it's because you want to make sure you're not going out in public looking like a fill in the blank, whatever that might be. Okay. Um, because if I ask you, do I look fat in this? Literally, I mean, be honest with me. Because if you're not honest with me, it means I'm going out in public looking like that. Okay. If I ask you how this looks, and that same daughter will tell me, "Hmm, are you gonna wear that, mom?" you know, and for various reasons. Either, you know, I'm looking like a bag lady that day, or mom, little low cut, need to take care of that situation, put the girls away, that kind of situation. Little tight mom, whatever. And I'm okay with that because I have taught them about modesty, and I want to um, I want to exhibit that as well. So if she's going to call me on it, um, I trust her at this point, and I will ask her opinion specifically to make sure everything's looking good, um, and appropriate. If that makes sense. Okay, I just got into a whole outfit thing, and the guys are like, "Whoo," glossing over. You can tell him how much I love him, Red Pill. Not that he walks on water, but yes, I love him. I thank him for what he's doing, for his hard work, and I stand behind him until he messes up. um, okay, so yes, I think I've fairly covered manipulation. I do agree. Um, left cheek, Jameson, just cheek. Oh, yeah, I was just about to get goofy there. I won't get goofy. All right. Um, Scarlet Dimple. You'll have me crossing my eyes again here. Um, doing my little eye trick thing. Okay. So I don't trust you, James. I trust the daughter, not you. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. So I have, you can tell I've not been live for a while because I have been talking and talking and talking. Um, it is almost 3 hours in. So for those of you who have hung in there, um, gold star, trophy, medal, whatever. You rock, and I appreciate you, and I'm also sorry because I have kept you here for so long. I've made up for I've made up you know for the fact that I haven't been around. Um, Thanks. Oh, Brian, thank you. Red Pill, I'm glad that you were able to jump on. I don't know. I know I was far enough behind on the chat that I don't know how um, or when exactly you jumped on. Um, you're bad. So anyway, yeah. Unless if anyone has anything to say, you can. But KK, I love you. Thank you. But yeah, it's time to go. I don't know if anybody else is going live. Billy, 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 if you are, or I was gonna say James Wallace. No, that was confusing. Um, Robert Wallace. Heavens, I'm all messed up. Um, that's that Trump? Because he's watching. um, Thank you, Robert Nozawa. Oh, Sam, you hung in there. I know this was a forever feed. I love you. I thank you. If you guys have not followed Sam, S.A. McGibbon, go and check her out. She does some reasonably timed uploads and shows and stuff. So go and check her out. She's great. And actually, everybody on here, KK and Bill and Robert Wallace and Robert Nozawa and James and Headless and I don't know, Brian, the AC guy. Do you have? I don't remember. I'm so sorry. I will have to recheck you out. So anyway, thank you. I love you all. If anyone is going live, let us know. Um, and I will jump on over there as well. So, yes. Yes, KK does need some prayers. Absolutely. And so does D, um, who isn't on here tonight. So, yes. All right. Love you all, and we will chat soon. Thank you for coming.